Second hour of the broadcast, and we've got a big guest coming in tonight. Of course, Russ Dizdar from ShatterTheDarkness.net, also author of The Black Awakening, and you can catch his radio show over at Steve Quayle's website. I believe you're with me right now, Russ. Is that you? It's an unknown number, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm here. Is that you hearing okay?
Yeah, I hear you good. In fact, you sound better than I do right now. So welcome back to the program. It's been a little while, and I know there were some schedule conflicts and my crazy mailer demon thing that went on with all my guests. Sure is a pleasure having you with us. I was letting folks know that you've kind of been the marquee guest that got us off the ground on 3 different networks now, so we sure do appreciate you.
Hey, well, that's good, Doc. We're glad to be here, and so many things occurring that are urgent, and we're glad just to be with you.
Yeah, and I mean, it's amazing. One of the things I wanted to ask you about, you remember 2 years ago where it seemed like maybe there were five or six articles that folks would kind of all commentate on. And now, like today, I couldn't even get through. I had 9 articles to go through in the first hour. I couldn't even get through 3 of them. I mean, I've just never seen so much happening at once, and so much news that used to get laughed out of the news as being seriously reported, like the UFO nuke thing and the Vatican talking about baptizing aliens, and world government being on the table now, not something where they laugh about. What do you think about all that?
Well, again, it's massive as far as all the information coming through. There is events that are going on. I think that's part of the biblical prophecy too, as far as how rapid things will occur, how many things will occur. The ramping up of the dark side is so vast that experiences, events, engagements, encounters are occurring everywhere. And Doc, we're going to it's going to really leave the world confused and just they're just going to be engaged with enormous events, and they're going to become more demonstrative as the days come. So it's a rapid, urgent time that we're living in right now.
Well, I would agree with you. I felt such a sense of relief when I got my family up here to the new ranch. It's unbelievable, and God put all that together for us. You were talking about spiritual events, so let's talk a bit about the Book of Daniel, Book of Revelations, and a few of the other books speak about what's to come for believers and non-believers alike. Spiritual events, supernatural ritual abuse for power, pleasure, and some of the specific purpose of creating multiples for use. Can you describe your opinion of why and what the difference is as far as the creating multiples or the specific purposes for power and pleasure that these elites use?
Well, sure, because what we need to realize is that the satanic agenda, which is real, it will continue to develop politics, military, economics, things like that, but it cannot advance without actual spiritual power. And that's what's clear in in biblical reality. We know that as believers, we don't advance the cause of Christ without God's power. So on the other side of the fence, they have also powers. The number one way to bring that power through is human sacrifice. This is true in the Old Testament days. This is true with the Mayans. This is true today. Now, the last number of months, I've been doing some conferences, and Doc, I have brought out, and we're going to put this out in a PDF file as an addition to the book that people can get free. It's called 500 Million Satanic Rituals. So we did a statistical count in the last 50 years with the amount of victims there are, how many rituals they go through each, and once we added up the numbers, the lowest possible number we can give for the United States was 500 million satanic rituals done, small ones, big ones, all kinds, in the last 55, 60 years. And they're ramping up. There's even more. For example, every city in the United States has satanic ritually abused people. Those are the ones that, they have, in the very beginning of their lives, they've dissociated them, created splits, caused the development of alter subpersonalities, programming, demonization, training, and then, of course, every one of these individual victims have been through, by the time they're 13, they've been through about 1,000 rituals. Now, that's incredible for one human being. It's what the dark side does, but there's, on the lowest scale, as far as stats, 4.5 million cases right now. Some believe 10 million. And then if you go to Europe, you're talking 20 million. And then if you go to the victims that we're dealing with today and go to their children, and then to their children, and then down one more to like 8, 9, 10-year-olds that we're dealing with now, you have 4 generations. And the rituals are off the scales, which means every single city in the United States of America, every single locality where there is a victim, that means there is a, whether small or medium-sized coven that has been there 50-some years. They've been doing rituals all this time that involve raising the demons for themselves, to keep themselves secretive and protected. They raise the demons to put into the victims. They raise the demons to send out against pastors and churches. And they also raise the demonic to release into the air. It's like a Christian praying for revival, for God's power to come and cause great numbers of people to get saved. Well, on the other side of the fence, they are, in their way of raising the powers and releasing them, they're releasing them to cause people's acceptance of the agenda, which includes globalism. It includes all of that.
Now, one of the things that intrigued me that we've talked about a couple times, and is the fact that it seems that a lot of these families, the kids they're broken early, they're raised different to actually be not like some folks think of like slaves, but actual tools, I guess, down the road. Can you talk about that aspect a little bit?
Sure. They in a sense, they are slaves in the sense that they're controlled by whoever the coven leaders are. They're called handlers. They have watchers, enforcers. So they're controlled by the fact that they have sub-personalities that do what the coven wants them, what the coven, wants them to perform. So they want control, strict control. But the jobs that they have, that's how they control. If, like, say, a sub-personality was programmed and trained to be a sex slave, and to be used to make money, to be used to give favors, if another personality inside is created to be a satanic priestess, and she knows ancient languages, she can summon the demons. If another sub-personality is a cleaner, like after a ritual's done, what do you do with the body? What do you do with the bones? How do you clean up everything? Another personality can be programmed with denial, so that if they ever do kind of start getting away and go to a psychologist, this personality, Doc, would come up and begin to say, no one's ever hurt me. I'm fine. My parents are fine. I have no bad memories. Yet when you talk to another sub-personality, they'll tell you all the real history, the real stuff going on. So it really depends on what each personality has been programmed and trained to be and do. And they will do those jobs. We've engaged assassins and talked and dealt with them, even attempted murders against staff members here. We have engaged runners and, those who are informers, those who infiltrate churches and government, all kinds. But you're right, they're used as tools. They're used as, in a way, they're used as spies. And they're all collectively, you're talking now, Doc, millions of these cases now. And why are they in Europe, in England, in Canada, and Australia also? They're all over. And most have, there's every psychologist knows they're out there. Every psych ward has had victims coming for help. So there's no question, as far as we know, they're there, but the numbers are off the scale, that are growing, and all of us that have been working in the field for 10, 20, 25 years know this. There's a collective agenda. They feel they're called to be the tools of the coming Antichrist.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Now, you know, what's amazing is that I guess the plans are so far along, because the folks that kind of pioneered some of the stuff you're talking about, I'm thinking of Fritz Springmeier in particular, really met with some either they were deemed crazy or stuck in institutions or even outright murdered. Do you think it's because the plans are so far along now that they're not as worried about being exposed? And talk a little bit about how you know for a fact these things are going on, because there's a new audience here, and a lot of them may not be familiar with how much research that you've done into this particular area. So could you go into talking about why you think that it's not, I don't want to say not as dangerous, but they're not actually coming and attacking the messenger anymore so much as they were?
Right. There's a real sense that in the end of the 90s, across the board, there was a real shutdown, a real, attempt to kind of shut all the victims that are trying to get out down, quiet everything down, because they have a real goal of secrecy at this point. That's part of the biblical plot that we see in 2 Thessalonians 2. It's called the secret power of lawlessness. It's already at work. It involves eventually creating a great rebellion, chaos, and then the rise of Antichrist. But now, as far as the research, we've been involved 25 years. Tons of books, 500-600 books, that we've done research with. The other side of the story is we've dealt thousands and thousands of hours, nonstop, 25 years, with victim after victim after victim. They've come from law enforcement, military, from all kinds of backgrounds. We've got victims in their 50s, we've got victims in their 30s, we've got victims in their 20s, we've got victims that are 9 and 10 and 11. 4 generations right now. American Psychological Association, they understand what it's all about. It's some of their founders, original, global, recognized psychiatrists and psychologists that have been involved in and know that the process to split and create personalities works. G.H. Estabrooks back in 1940s. You have Cameron, Dr. Cameron out of Canada. You have Dr. Orrin, Dr. Jolly West, both of them CI specialists and psychiatrists. They all know this, and there's so many books now written, Freedom of Information Acts, the Monarch Project, the MK Ultra. So there's so much actual research evidence there, but it's only the tip of the iceberg. Dealing with the people, last night I dealt with somebody brand new. Over the weekend, somebody came from out of state that wondered if they were. We're going into Pennsylvania next week to deal with perpetrators and then those who have been trying to help the victims. We've had over 100 and some victims just out of PA here with us. I've talked to hundreds and hundreds of subpersonalities, individuals. We've done deliverance with them for years. That's why we wrote the book, which is like only a fourth of the information we could have put out. And so the research is there, the factors are there, the secular side of the psychological, the psychiatric institution, they know the numbers. Matter of fact, one of their people, Colin Ross, a psychiatrist out of Canada, he wrote a book called Project Blue Book, and he's not a believer as far as I know, and his book only brings out the factors of military, CIA, psychiatrists, and then he agrees with the number 10 million victims. So the research side of it, the actual numbers, and those working in the field, it's off the scale. And the only problem is most people don't realize that Most everybody's working with, 48-year-olds, 55-year-old people, but it's their children that are also multiple and satanic ritually abused, and then they